Welcome to a brand new OSU Sports Roundup. I'm Dave Hunziker with Casey Kendrick. We are doing things a little bit differently. This is a combined show. We'll feature men's and women's basketball and other sports, including Oklahoma State's outstanding wrestling program. So we got a lot of stuff we're going to share.
You know, we do, Dave, and what I like about this concept is, oftentimes the men program will go do what it does, and it's kind of its own entity. This gives us a chance to integrate what's happening inside Gallagher-Iba Arena, what's happening with Coach Boynton's team, what's happening with Coach Jim Littell's team. And you know as well as I do, there's nobody that works harder or is more deserving of the attention than the wrestling program and what John Smith's program is doing inside Gallagher-Iba Arena. So we get a chance to really showcase everybody.
You know, you mentioned the fact that the men's program is kind of to itself, and of course football is. It's in the West End zone, but there's still a family atmosphere. Gallagher-Iba Arena is the hub for the Oklahoma State University athletic program, and you see student athletes in there from all sports, which makes it unique. There's not a separate men's athletic department, separate women's athletic department. It's one big family, and I think you'll get to sense that as we do some of our storytelling.
Well, I think, that starts at the top with Mike Holder. I think he's done a good job of making sure that everybody does get an opportunity to showcase. Everyone is treated fairly. And, Dave, when you look at the way these two teams have started, it's going to be fun. A lot of people thought that this was going to be strictly rebuilding for Oklahoma State this year. So we get a chance to talk about the newcomers for the men's program. How have they been integrated? How have they done? On the women's side, there were as many knee braces as starters last year. We had so many kids coming off knee injuries. So we get to talk about coming through that. How have they transitioned from that? So it's going to be fun, as you said, to be able to tell stories that maybe we didn't get a chance to in the past.
And coming up on our show, we'll talk to Coach Mike Boynton, the Cowboy head coach, about their difficult non-conference schedule, how the Cowboys have benefited from that challenging non-conference schedule with a whole bunch of newcomers on the Oklahoma State basketball squad, 9 as a matter of fact. And Casey, the same thing is true on the women's side. A lot of new faces.
We had so many kids that showed up in knee braces coming off of knee surgeries from the year before, and you just didn't know what to expect from this season. A 9-2 non-conference schedule and record. And we're going to talk to Coach Littell about that. We're also going to talk to Carly Wheeler and find out about her experiences this summer. She got a chance to go study abroad, and that young lady's getting it done in the classroom right now for Oklahoma State. So we'll get a chance to tell her story coming up in just a bit.
All this and much more coming up on the all-new OSU Sports Roundup. The OSU Roundup is brought to you by Bud Light, game day's favorite light lager. By the visitstillwaterok.org, Shop, Dine, and Stay partners. Be sure to shop, dine, and stay in America's friendliest college town. By Mercy Health, your life is our life's work. And by OG&E, power at the speed of life.
Living with joint pain. Take the first step at mercy.net/cowboysortho.
On a forbidden Fansville by Dr. Pepper.
Ramon, we can't.
But Julia,
We're rivals.
I can love you and still hate your overrated school.
We have two different defensive philosophies. You're a base 4-3 cover 2, and I'm an
aggressive 3-4 with press coverage. I get it, but we both love Dr. Pepper.
Oh, Ramon.
Touchdown, State!
Yes! In your face!
Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
Hi, I'm Coach Gundy with Oklahoma State University. With approximately 900 Oklahomans waiting for a life-saving transplant, I encourage everyone across the state to make the important decision to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor. So check your driver's license for the Little Red Heart. If it's not there, visit lifeshareok.org and join the registry today. I have the Little Red Heart. Do you?
We continue and we start things with Cowboy head coach Mike Boynton as we break things down as far as our winter sports are concerned. And first thing I want to ask you is, we're about working our way up to about the halfway point of the season. How do you think you're different as a coach now versus when your first season started?
I would say I'm learning what real patience is. Last year, things were moving pretty fast, and I was just kind of on the fly, making decisions, trying to be as thorough as I could when thinking about them. but really taking a lot of chances. And now trying to be a little bit more methodical about our approach, a little bit more systematic as we build this thing for what we hope it can be for the next 5, 6, 7 years.
One of the ingredients is that has been a really hard non-conference schedule. In fact, in the top 10 nationally in terms of difficulty. And the thing is, with that comes opportunity. And one of the highlights, I think, of the non-conference was your win over LSU in Orlando. Very highly regarded ranked team. You beat them soundly. What was the value of that win? What did it do for your guys to beat a team like that?
Well, the value of the non-conference schedule in general was that it prepared us for what we're going through now, which is playing quality opponents every night. And there are no nights off in the Big 12, as you know. Winning a game like that early gives you some validation of what you think you can become. But it also can, in some ways, change the perception of how quickly you can get there. And our guys do have confidence, but we still have to learn how hard it is to win consistently against high-level competition.
One of the key cogs in that win, and really has been a key cog in your team all year, has been the performance of Cam McGriff. He had a career high in the LSU win. But overall, how's he grown? How's he a different player now than what he was a year ago?
Well, he's more mature. He's taken a little bit more of a scoring burden, but also, even more importantly, more leadership. The last couple of years, he's kind of played a secondary role in that regard because we had guys like Mitch Solomon and Jeff Carroll last year. His freshman year, we had guys like Phil Forte and Leighton Hammonds who really kind of control things in the locker room. Well, he's the guy that everybody turns to for answers now, and he's been rock solid in that way.
And you talk about leadership, I guess one way to get guys' attention is taking charges. He leads your team by far in charges taken.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, really important component of our defense. And you don't always have to steal the ball or block a shot to have an effective defensive possession. Taking the charge is just as deflating. It also gets a foul on sometimes a key player for the other team. It really gets your team some momentum, more buy-in.
Your second leading scorer is Lindy Waters. Describe his value in terms of his versatility, what that means to your team, the fact that it seems like he can do a lot of different things.
Well, Lindy may be our most indispensable player in terms of the number of things he can do for our team. I mean, we literally play him at every position, except for the 5 for the most part, but he can both guard it and he can play it offensively. He's probably our best passer. He's obviously one of our best shooters. And he's a guy who really has a great understanding of our system and what to look for while he's on the court.
You think he could play the 5?
I think he could. I don't know if he wants to, especially as we continue to play, real big men in this league.
Final thought as we wrap up this segment. Right before Christmas, you did a couple of things with the team. You took the team on a hospital visit to Tulsa. You also went on a shopping trip to buy gifts for underprivileged children and delivered those gifts. As you went through that and then heard the guys talking about it the days after, what things did you hear from your players about that experience?
Well, I think one of the things that struck me was how emotional they were. A lot of those kids that they saw in that hospital were kids that were young, really young kids who either are going through something really tough or just don't have family to take care of them right now. And so just the pure emotion and getting them an opportunity to give back to people who are less fortunate. For me, it's always really important to strip yourself away from the basketball part of things and have a real perspective on life outside of this game.
And it's interesting, too, when you stop and think about it. A basketball team's not any different than any other group on campus. You have all kinds of different backgrounds, players that come from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, some who grow up with a lot, some that don't grow up with much. So for them, in some ways, to have roles reversed, it would have been really interesting to see how they handle that and manage that, because for some of them, they've had their own challenges.
Oh, there's no question. And they all have their own story and come from different places, whether it be in the country or from their home background. But they're all very grateful kids. They're very thankful of the opportunity that they have to be at a university like this, to get a first-class education, to have all the access to the resources that you have at a place like this, and then to be doing something that they really, really enjoy, which is playing basketball and traveling around the country playing against really good competition on a night-in and night-out basis.
Stay with us. Coach Boynton and I back with more. We talk about the Cowboys' great defense so far in conference play. Stay with us. More on the way. We continue with Cowboy head coach Mike Boynton talking Cowboy basketball, and we were talking about the non-conference schedule and the difficulty of it, and then, of course, 2 tough games to start conference play. But for you as a coach with a roster with 9 newcomers, did it take some time playing all those games against good teams to kind of get a feel for exactly maybe what your rotation should be, what you should do on offense and defense? Was it a process for you or no?
Yeah, it's a process that, quite honestly, we're still going through. We got a few answers. We're starting to see some guys emerge in roles that we thought they could become, but it's taking a little bit of time. For instance, Mo Kalou is a great example of that. At the same time, this isn't a short-term deal. We're not trying to be just a one-shot, one season, great show, move on. We're trying to build this thing for the long term. And to do that, you got to take some lumps and have to learn some hard lessons, and we've done that through challenging ourselves from a scheduling standpoint, and the league's been no different.
Have the tweaks been more on the offensive end or defensive end or both?
Well, we really have laid a strong foundation on the defensive end, and we feel like that's going to be our bedrock for a long time. And it has to be, because I believe that it's going to be nice you run good offense and just don't make shots. And when that happens, you still got to find a way to try to win the game. So winning ugly and playing defensive basketball is okay right now, but our offense has to continue to evolve. It's
funny you mentioned the defense, because to get into some of the specifics, the first two conference games, at home against Iowa State, on the road against Oklahoma, you came up just short in those games, but both of those teams had their worst shooting games of the year against your squad. Digging into the specifics of what you're doing defensively, what are you seeing happening now, especially these first two games in conference play, specifics on the defensive end that have you excited?
Well, we're taking people out of rhythm and we're making them uncomfortable. You can't allow teams with the level of talent and coaching in our league to run offense comfortably. And most of the time they're going to make high-level shots, and they got guys who, even when you play good defense, can still score. And so what we've tried to do is master the ability to take teams out of their first and secondary options and then make them go to something else. And usually now you're playing against the shot clock. What we have to continue to evolve in is keeping people off the free throw line and finishing those defensive possessions when they're good with good blockouts and rebounds.
It's interesting you say that with such a young team, because I can remember our conversations in November and December. You were really trying to keep things pretty simple in terms of opponent preparation and scouting reports, things of that nature. Have they progressed in that area? Does that have any role in some of your success defensively now that maybe you can give them more specifically about each opponent?
Yeah, but we haven't gone too far. We're doing a little bit more each game. We're giving them a little bit more, but we're also still trying to keep the game plan simple.
Gotcha.
And we really want them to focus on the things that we feel like we do well. And if we do those things well consistently, we feel like we'll give ourselves a chance. For instance, our ball screen coverage has to continue to be great, because most nights we're going to face some sort of ball screen offensive sets. And so if we continue to be good in that area, that's one thing that, as a rock, you can count on every night. Now, again, we've got to get back to where we're sitting down and not using our hands as much and fouling, and then we got to rebound a lot better than we have in the first two games.
Do you feel like philosophically the up-the-line defense, the pressure defense is an advantage? If nothing else, a lot of teams don't see it much, and if you're good at it, the way you've been the last two games, you could really impact someone, as you said, take them out of rhythm. Is that an advantage in and of itself if it's done right?
Yeah, there's definitely some advantages, and one of the keys to that defense is having someone at the rim who can be a deterrent, because there are going to be times where maybe you give up some dribble penetration. And so having a young guy like Yorane, who right now is still trying to find his way, but has a real true effect on our defense because of his ability to block shots, is a real key for us. At the same time, it also is that it keeps the other team from, again, doing what they do on most nights, which is come across the half-court line, be comfortable, make pass from A to B, B to C. We really try to make you go from A to maybe C or D on that first option.
Final thoughts. You've been involved in a lot of close games and really have not won close games. What has to change for you to come out on the right side of the close contest?
Well, we've got to make more toughness plays late in games. We gave up a couple really, really big offensive rebounds late. We had a couple missed assignments in transition defense. And when your margin for error is thin, which is what we have right now because of our youth, and we don't necessarily have one guy that we can count on to get baskets every night, we have to take advantage of every opportunity. And right now we're leaving too many opportunities out there, whether it be because we're giving up second chance points or because we're fouling.
Stay with us. More to come on the OSU Sports Roundup.
Today is a huge opportunity for us. Not about basketball, but to prove to ourselves that we can be the type of team that we're capable of being. That we will be that team every day from here on out.
We're at Gallagher Rifle Arena in Stillwater. Stillwater, and tonight on Eddie Sutton Court, the Oklahoma State Cowboys welcome the Texas Longhorns to Stillwater. 5 of the last 7 meetings between Oklahoma State and Texas have been decided by 5 points or less, so we expect another close, very entertaining game here tonight.
These are 2 very hard-playing teams. This is a great defensive league, and this is 2 of the better defensive teams in it.
I don't think there's any question we're going to get good effort on both sides.
Out it goes left wing Waters for 3. It's good.
Nice ball movement by the Cowboys.
2 3-pointers early for Lindy Waters.
Oklahoma State now 2 straight threes. McGriff and now Dzagwa. That's the story of the game right now. That's the difference in the game.
Lindy Waters right corner. Now rises up, shoots for 3 and hits it.
Lindy Waters looks like the best shooter in the country tonight.
Crosses over, drives it right, lost the dribble off his leg, out of bounds underneath. It'll be Oklahoma State ball. Cowboys against full court pressure, they handle it. Waters left corner to Dzagwa. In the lane to McGriff with a slam. And a timeout, Texas.
Osikowski finds a cutting Ramey and Weathers with the rejection.
Look, this is a physical team. You're going to be bruised when you come out of here playing Oklahoma State.
This will be a season-low 22 points for the Longhorns at the break.
Now he drives it hard right, comes back left, bounce pass to a cutting Kalu, goes to the goal, across the lane to McGriff with a slam. Right wing to Dzagwa, 1 dribble, 3-pointer, around the rim and in. Pump fakes, drives it right, leaning layup, good!
Oh boy. Kalu really playing good basketball right now.
Now Lindy off the dribble for 3, right wing, and he hits it. Waters is 5 for 5 from 3-point range, 9-point lead. Coleman drives, gets a shot blocked by McGriff, and the rebound to Weathers of Oklahoma State. How high did Cam McGriff get up? Got to be careful with the ball here. Likely on the dribble, tries it right, goes baseline all the way underneath, leaning layup, good.
Good under control move by Likely. So they foul Likely 65% from the line. Likely has not shot a free throw here tonight. Likely second.
Got him both.
61-58 Cowboys, 10 seconds left. Hands it off to Ramey. Ramey, 3-pointer from the top of the key, no good. Cowboys take down Texas, 61-58. Hold off the Longhorns for their first Big 12 conference win. 1, 2, 3, us.
Coach, first Big 12 win over Texas tonight. What were you most impressed with your team?
Just our grit to find a way to finish, even though we didn't necessarily play our best basketball in the last 10 minutes of the game. For a young team to find a way to still stave off a big comeback from a really talented Texas team is something we can build on.
And a big part of that was Isaac Likely leaving up to his nickname in ice. He had 2 big clutch free throws at the end. He is a freshman, but almost enjoys those big pressure moments.
No question. He's been telling me for months that, although he struggled at the free throw line at times, that I'm going to want him on the line in the game-winning moments. And tonight he proved himself right.
You guys had a huge first half, though. Out-rebounded Texas by 10, forced a lot of turnovers, a lot of scoring from Lindy and Cam combined for 24 points in the first half. In that first half, what were you most impressed with?
Just our effort, just our unselfishness, and our ability to just stay focused on one possession at a time.
You guys are headed up to Morgantown next, take on West Virginia. How do you take this momentum of this win into Morgantown?
Well, first of all, we even after, just like after a loss, we got to forget this one pretty quick because they're a different type of opponent. On the road's always much more challenging, and we got to get ourselves focused on how we win that game for that 40 minutes.
A 61-58 win over Texas tonight. You guys had a huge first half as a team, and in the second, we're able to close out. How are you guys able to do that?
Just one play at a time. We had a pretty good first half, but our defense is great. One of the best in the league, and we pride ourselves on that. And even though we turned the ball over and couldn't get stuff offensively the second half, we relied on our defense and rebounding.
19 points for you, 5 of 5 from 3, 9 rebounds. Just had an incredible night, not only on the boards but also shooting. What was your mindset going into this game?
I got to be more aggressive, whether that's rebounding the ball for the team or any part where I can help. I got to be more aggressive. And I shot the ball well tonight, and we won the game.
You mentioned being more aggressive shooting as well, especially against this team.
Yeah. We got great shooters. Me, Thomas, Curtis can shoot. Even Cam, he can stretch the floor a little bit. But sometimes our best offense is in the first 7-8 seconds. And when me and Thomas are on, it's really hard to stop us.
It was your 100th three career at OSU. You go down in the history books. What does that mean to you?
Down the road it'll mean a lot more, but right now I'm just focused on winning the next game.
What about Ice really living up to his nickname with some clutch free throws at the end of the game?
Yeah, you know, we got to get a couple more guys in the gym, on the free throw line. But he stepped up as a freshman. It was big time for us.
Moving forward, how much momentum does this give you guys?
Gives us a lot more confidence. Shows us just if we play the right way, how far we can go. And we got 15 more of these things.
All right, thanks, Lindy.
Thank you.
I can't think of a better place to go for a more dedicated group of people who are invested in our students achieving their goals. Whether it's become a doctor or hospital administrator or a researcher. I really enjoy knowing that what we do and the programs that we put in place change the lives of other people.
Welcome back to the new OSU Sports Roundup, and we're joined now by Coach Jim Littell. Coach, new show features you, Coach Boynton. We'll get a chance to see Coach John Smith and other coaches as well. It's a good format, gives us a chance to really showcase everybody.
I think it's exciting, the changes, the opportunity to visit with all the coaches, the interaction. Just think it's a great format that the fans will really enjoy.
Let's talk about your team, Coach. Coming into this season, you know, Dave and I talked at the top of the show that you probably had more knee braces than you had returning starters from a year ago. You had a lot of newcomers coming in. For the fans who are just now getting on board with this team, even though we've already started conference season, coming into the year, there were just a ton of question marks.
Well, there was a lot of question marks, and I think there still are to a certain degree. And we're trying to find our identity offensively, defensively, what are the best combinations. But what's been good about it is we found a way to win basketball games and be highly competitive and get a lot of young players, a lot of great experience.
Well, and as you said, obviously it is still some questions. So the lineup is work in progress. But I want to talk about a few of these young ladies, some of the new people coming in. No one entered this season with the same role as they did a year ago. Braxton Miller was the fourth option on a fantastically talented team a year ago. Now she's kind of the kid. Vivian Gray is new to the program. Latasha Jones, a first-time starter. Cassidy DeLapp and Miriam Nanu in the middle. We could go on and on. Jaden Hobbs starting at the point, or if not, Jamie Asbury. Either way, it's new. But as this team has come together, the important thing was that there was chemistry to allow you guys to make changes, plug in, change what you're doing, and know that everybody's still on the same page and the program's moving the right direction.
Absolutely. I believe our kids really like each other. They enjoy being with each other on and off the floor. It's a selfless team that will pass the basketball and get it where it needs to be. But, yeah, there's a lot of new faces. Roles have changed. Some young players are asked to grow up in a hurry to compete in a very tough conference.
So let's talk about a few specifically. Braxton Miller, coach, again, she is now probably the go-to kid. She and Vivian kind of have traded that off and on and are maybe a tandem for the rest of the season, maybe the rest of their careers. But when you look at Braxton, she seems to be willing to embrace it. The moment has not been too big for her.
No, it hasn't. She's a young lady that came out of high school as a freshman, was runner-up, and their sophomore, junior, senior year were state champions. So she's experienced a lot of success, at a young age last year in our program, was a very integral part of making a run into the NCAA tournament. So she plays well in big games, and she enjoys being in the limelight.
Vivian Gray, highly coveted by a ton of programs. You guys were the first on her list until she decided to go to Fort Lewis to play with her sister. Things changed. She comes to Oklahoma State. And, Coach, you can just see the talent in this young lady. Teams want to frustrate her by playing her physically, and she's got to learn to play through that, and she's admitted that several times. But, boy, you can just see when she's on, she can be special.
No, there's a talent level. Viv reminds you a lot of ways of Brittany Martin with the ability to just rise over people and shoot the basketball. Very pure shot, really good at the free throw line, leading the conference in free throw percentage. And she's got a unique skill set to her that is going to make her a good player in this league for years to come.
At the point, Jaden Hobbs, we know how special she can be. We remember the Syracuse first round of the NCAA tournament, all the threes, set the record for you guys in doing that. But when you look at that point guard position, you also think about Jamie Asbury coming off the knee injury. She actually sat out last year, was a part of the team, and has swagger, has a little bit of something to her. Those two may tag team that point guard all season long.
No, that may be true, and depending on whether we're seeing zone or man, it'll dictate who's playing and who's hot. And we can play those kids at the same time as well. I think Jamie has the opportunity to create some shots for Jaden in transition. So we've gone with a small lineup at times, and it's worked pretty well.
And then inside of the post, Coach, let's talk about Miriam Nanu, fantastic young lady. Again, another highly coveted player by many of the Big 12 teams across the country. You guys have Cassidy DeLapp, who is a very strong physical kid, but a freshman. And I could see those two. You know, it's been a long time since we haven't had our post playing 30-plus minutes. These two have played right at 20 minutes apiece. Abby Winchester has given you some quality minutes in there as well. And it just seems like these two complement each other. They're different in how they play, and maybe depending upon the matchup, that's who's going to get the lion's share.
Well, it's just about who's playing well at the time for those two. Both great young ladies. Both want to excel and do well. Good practice players. Want to get better each day. I think it's just a matter of getting playing time for those two.
Finally, Latasha Jones, Maria Castro. You know, Tasha, you gave her a challenge. You said, let's rebound the ball. 15 rebounds against Wichita State. She's done some really good things. Limited on her scoring, and then you bring in Maria Castro, who can drop it in a bucket from anywhere on the floor with very little separation. Again, they complement each other. They do things differently, but they both bring something to the floor.
You know, they bring two different elements to the floor. Latasha's an outstanding rebounder. Maria has a ability to stretch a defense, and both of them are key components to helping us play well.
A lot of components to this team, maybe using as much of your bench as we've seen in a long time for Oklahoma State, and we've seen that through the early parts of the conference season. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how the non-conference went and the start of the conference season. We've got highlights and more. Coming up.
Hi, I'm Coach Gundy with Oklahoma State University. With approximately 900 Oklahomans waiting for a life-saving transplant, I encourage everyone across the state to make the important decision to be an organ, eye, and tissue donor. So check your driver's license for the Little Red Heart. If it's not there, visit lifeshareok.org and join the registry today. I have the Little Red Heart. Do you?
Welcome back once again to the show. Casey Kendrick along with the head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowgirls, Coach Jim Littell. And, Coach, let's talk about the non-conference a little bit for your team. You know, you guys hosted Tennessee. You guys went on the road, took on Wichita State. You went on the road, took on UCLA. So there were elements of this season that were definitely going to be challenging and preparing you for conference play, and that was kind of the way you guys built this conference the non-conference schedule.
Well, we knew we lost a lot of experience, and it was important to build a schedule that allowed our team to have some success, but also receive some challenges that get you ready for a very tough Big 12 schedule. So I really liked our non-conference schedule. Going on the road to UCLA was a good experience for our team. Wichita State was a big challenge. Oral Roberts is having a good year. We played extremely well against them. And then to have Tennessee here was a really nice experience for not only our players but our fans as well.
Well, and Coach, I talked about it a little bit ago, but you know, the moment at that point, the Wichita State game was the biggest game on the schedule. Not only because it was the next game, which coaches like to look at, but it was also a road game. It was an opportunity to prepare this team. It's a potentially good RPI game. And in that game, Braxton Miller had 30 points. Latasha Jones had 15 rebounds. It seemed to me that the urgency that you kind of shared with your kids, didn't make it all about urgency, but you shared with them, they responded to very well.
Well, they did, and I think Wichita State's going to have a really nice year this year. Very well coached. It's a team that is very athletic for a mid-major club. And, you know, our kids responded. Braxton made a lot of big plays in that game.
Big win for the Cowgirls. They get the win 60-47. And before we talk about the conference that you guys have opened up with, you said we're still trying to search for our identity offensively and defensively. But it does seem so far that you guys have created a defensive identity of at least tenacious. It does travel. We've seen it in every game. TCU was able to get to you a little bit, but for the most part, your defense has been tremendous this year.
We feel good about that. We went to Texas and gave up 60, and some of those points were late when we had to foul to try to get back in the game. But I think for the most part, we've played well. What we've got to get better at on the defensive end is finishing the play and blocking out. Our losses, you could look, are a direct result of giving up too many offensive boards or too many turnovers. So there's a lot of room for improvement, but I think the effort and attitude on the defensive end has definitely been there.
Let's talk about TCU, your home opener in the Big 12. Coach, you guys came out on fire, had an 18-point lead. Now, it evaporated down to 9 by halftime, and it was not a, hey, way to go halftime conversation. It was a, hey, let's finish conversation. But what a quick start for your team in that ball game.
No, it was, and they played multiple defenses and came out in the press. I thought we handled the press very well in the first half, not as well in the second half, but they went to half-court trap, and I thought we were about as good as you could be handling the half-court trap, reversed the ball, found somebody open in the corner, knocked down shots, and that's what enabled us to build the nice lead. And then we got a little careless with the basketball again, and we have lapses, 6-7 minute lapses where we don't score the ball very well, and that's what we've got to grow out as the season progresses.
Well, and then this game, Coach, they actually had a 1-point lead. So an 18-point lead ends up in a TCU 1-point lead. What are you going to do? Who are you going to be? Well, your team proved that they're a team that can finish, and it wasn't pretty, and it probably put a few gray hairs on your head, but your team did finish, and there was a lot of young kids trying to grow up in that ball game.
Well, there was a lot of fight left. When you let a 18-point lead get away from you, there's the chance that, you know, okay, this is away, this is gone now. But I thought our kids kept fighting, made some big plays. We made some mistakes down near the end of the game again, but we did make some plays and made a lot of big free throws to finish the game off.
To get their first win in conference play, 75-71. Vivian Gray had 27 points. Maria Castro had 8 points and 7 rebounds in her first start. Jamie Asbury had 14. That was a career high for her, so a lot of tremendous efforts by your team, and that was a fantastic win. Let's take a break. When we come back, you know, for a team to be successful, you got to have a lot of leaders in a lot of ways, and Carly Wheeler has been a leader in the classroom. She had a great experience this summer. We'll find out more about that right after this. Welcome back to the OSU Sports Roundup, and as we said going into break, obviously you got to have a lot of leaders on your team. For the Oklahoma State Cowgirls in the classroom, that has been Carly Wheeler. She had an exceptional experience this summer. Here's more on Carly Wheeler.
Me and 5 other people from different parts of the United States went to Palma de Mallorca, Spain, and we were able to just shadow doctors and surgeons and kind of see what they do on the daily. I was Google searching like doctor stuff, basically like trying to gain more knowledge on all that stuff, and Instagram does this weird thing. Anything you search, they have like promotional things basically. Atlantis came up, which is like a fellowship program. So I applied, filled out an application, and basically just kind of kept going with that. So ended up going. I shadowed 3 different departments, so rehab, general surgery, and trauma. And I got to see different surgeries. We saw a couple of knee replacements. We saw a couple of distal radial fracture repairs. I actually saw a colectomy, so they took out the colon of a patient. It was crazy. It was really cool, though. I kind of got to see that side of it, and then some of the surgeons were doing consults with their patients. So I got to see in surgery as well as outside of surgery and kind of the pre and post part of that. I thought it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I definitely like the surgery setting, so hopefully somehow wherever I end up, I'll end up being in that type of environment. It's definitely tough, especially being a pre-med major. I've always been a student who has good grades, and I do still have good grades, but not where I would like to be and not where I was in high school, obviously, because high school is nothing like college. But it's definitely challenging, but as long as I kind of manage my time and stay on top of basketball and school the best I can. Obviously med school is an option, hopefully, and then I've recently been thinking about PA school, so I'm trying to do more research on that and figure out if that's something that I would like to do. And then I'm also trying to line out some stuff and possibly shadow so I can get a better idea of what I want to do. But as long as I'm in the medical field and hopefully, like I said, a surgery type of setting, then I'll be happy.
Good stuff there with Carly Wheeler. Hey, coming up, we are going to hear from John Smith. Their team is 5-0. They had some champions at the Scuffle. We'll hear from John Smith, head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowboy wrestling team, right after this.
Well, it's important that we keep our promise, and the entire OSU administration made the promise that we would always remember the 10. And I'm proud of the fact that I believe we have. Those guys deserve that, but their families deserve that too, and they are forever family.
Well, the Oklahoma State Cowboys are 5-0 on the season. They've had a couple of opportunities to be in different events the last couple of weeks, and Allison Gampa got a chance to catch up with the head coach for the Cowboys, Coach John Smith.
Coach, off to a undefeated start, 5-0. What have you seen from your team up to this point?
Well, I mean, it's been good. You know, I think we've made a few adjustments, but I think in the end, we've wrestled well. We've wrestled hard. We've had a lot of injuries. Guys have come into the lineup because of those injuries, and some of those guys have been very inspirational for the team. Really kind of fired us up, and I think it's led us to this 5-0 and pretty good effort.
You guys had 4 titles at the Southern Scuffle, and you mentioned those adjustments that you made. Why did you decide to make those going into that?
Well, I think, one, you have injuries, and when you have injuries, you got to make some adjustments. And for us, we did wrestle well in Southern Scuffle. You know, we finished second, not where we want to be, but this Penn State team is tough. I mean, they're strong, and they've got the upper weights is where they've got their power. And right now, we've made some adjustments in the upper weights, hopefully that we can match some of that. But bottom line, our team's wrestling well.
One of the guys wrestling well is the Big 12 Wrestler of the Week, and Caden Gefeller. What have you seen from him this season? Well,
we call him G, and he has been a lot of fun.
Right.
Freshman, went into 149 because Boo Llewellyn, our All-American, got injured. He will be back. Gefeller might end up pulling down. I don't know what's going to happen, but anyway, I tell you what he's done for the team. He's fired us all up. I mean, this guy's coming in. He's undefeated. He's ranked probably in the top 4 now at 149, where he wasn't even ranked at 49 or 41 before the season started. So it's been a nice surprise, but he's tough. He's just a tough kid. He wants to rip your arm off and beat you with it. That's how tough he is. That may sound bad, but this kid is that tough.
A trip to Rutgers and talk a little bit about moving forward from at this point.
Yeah, we're heading to Rutgers and Princeton this weekend, and then we return a trip out there to the East Coast to West Virginia and Pittsburgh. So 2 long trips for us, wrestling 4 matches in 2 weeks. Just it's where we got to be. You know, these people got to see us. We need wrestlers seeing us. We're recruiting out in the East a lot, so we just need to be seen right now because we're good and we're wrestling tough. And, in the end, we're going to end up back here in Stillwater, but you got to wait for a couple weeks.
You mentioned recruiting out there. I mean, any kid that's from Oklahoma or this area obviously knows you and the amazing background that you have in wrestling, and I'm sure it's really easy to recruit those kids, but how important is it for you to kind of tap into that hotbed in the East?
Well, it's just the people, you know. It's just not that they're anything better than us. There's just a lot more of them, and
Right.
we need to spend time out there. We need to wrestle out there, and as well as West Virginia's in our conference, so, you know, we go out there, and we tie in Pittsburgh with it, so we spend a weekend out there with that. And Rutgers and Princeton is a team that normally we wouldn't wrestle, but we want those coming here too. Right. You know, we want a chance for them to wrestle in Stillwater, so we're going to be out east a lot in the future.
All right, thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you.
Up next for the Oklahoma State Cowboy Wrestling program, they're headed to Princeton, New Jersey. While they're in the Northeast, they'll also take on Rutgers, and best of luck to the Cowboys there. Hey, that's going to wrap it up here on our first and new OSU Roundup program. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Want to say thanks to Coach Boynton, Coach Littell, Coach Smith, Carly Wheeler, for Allison Gappa, Dave Hunziker. I'm Casey Kendrick. We'll see you guys next time right here on the OSU Roundup.
The OSU Roundup is brought to you by Bud Light, game day's favorite light lager. By the visitstillwaterok.org Shop, Dine, and Stay partners. Be sure to shop, dine, and stay in America's friendliest college town. By Mercy Health, your life is our life's work. And by OG&E, power at the speed of light.